June 3, 2025, began like any other Tuesday at Coca-Cola's Atlanta headquarters. Employees filtered in, the city's skyline glimmered in the morning haze, and the hum of business as usual filled the air, until, in a matter of minutes, everything changed. The news didn't arrive through a carefully worded memo or a routine email. Instead, it flashed across screens as a breaking alert. The president had just announced a dramatic policy shift, doubling the tariff on imported aluminum to a staggering 50%, effective at midnight. The message was clear: there would be no time to prepare. Shockwaves rippled through the executive suite. This wasn't just a minor policy tweak or a bureaucratic hurdle. It was a direct hit to the very core of their business, threatening to upend years of careful planning and global supply chain management. CEO James Quincy's calendar was instantly wiped clean. An emergency meeting was called, pulling in the heads of finance, supply chain, and operations. They gathered in the boardroom, eyes glued to spreadsheets and forecasts, staring at numbers that now spelled disaster for the company's bottom line. Coca-Cola relies on billions of aluminum cans in the US every single year. Each can, once a symbol of efficiency and scale, had suddenly become a liability, its cost about to skyrocket overnight. In an instant, a nine-figure cost had landed on their doorstep. The financial hit wasn't just a line item, it threatened to ripple through every part of the business, from production lines to marketing budgets. The team scrambled for answers, their minds racing through scenarios and contingency plans that had never seemed likely to be needed. Did this new tariff apply to all countries, or were there exceptions? Could they shift sourcing, or would every supplier be affected? Was there any legal loophole, any clause in the policy that could offer relief? The legal team pored over documents, searching for a lifeline. The previous 25% tariff had already squeezed margins and forced tough choices. But this was a whole new level of crisis, threatening to push the company into uncharted territory. The White House called it a national security measure, a move to protect American industry. But to Coca-Cola it felt like a direct assault on their business model, one that could reshape the entire beverage industry. Confirmation soon arrived from D.C. The tariff was real, the deadline was midnight, and there would be no exceptions. The company had just hours to react. The crisis was no longer theoretical. Every can rolling off the production line now carried a dramatically higher price tag, threatening to upend budgets and forecasts. The executives faced a stark, almost impossible choice, one that would define the company's future. Should they pass the cost to consumers, risking backlash and lost sales in a fiercely competitive market, or absorb the blow themselves, threatening profits, jobs, and future investments in innovation and growth? The clock was ticking relentlessly, each second bringing them closer to a deadline that could reshape the company's destiny. The stakes had never been higher. Coca-Cola, an American icon for over a century, suddenly found itself at the epicenter of a global trade war, its future uncertain, its leadership tested as never before. The company's next moves would determine not just its own fate, but the price of a simple can of Coke for millions of Americans, and perhaps even the future of the beverage industry itself. The boardroom buzzed with urgency, every decision, every word now carried enormous weight. The pressure was palpable and the world was watching. Could they protect the brand, the business, and the consumer all at once? Or would something have to give in the face of this unprecedented challenge? The countdown to midnight had begun. The world's eyes were fixed on Atlanta, waiting to see how an American giant would respond to a crisis of historic proportions. And as the city lights burned late into the night, Coca-Cola had only hours to make a decision that could change everything. To truly grasp the crisis facing the beverage industry, you first have to understand the humble aluminum can, an object so familiar it's easy to overlook its complexity and importance. For Coca-Cola, the can is far more than just packaging. It's a marvel of engineering, a canvas for branding, and a logistical powerhouse that keeps billions of drinks moving around the globe. Its lightweight design makes it easy to transport, it chills quickly for instant refreshment, and it's infinitely recyclable, making the can central to Coke's identity, business model, and environmental promise. Over the decades, billions of dollars have been invested in specialized plants that fill, seal, and ship these cans at lightning speed, creating a vast, efficient network that spans continents. The iconic red logo, the satisfying pop and fizz when you open a can, these sensory details are woven into the very fabric of the Coke experience, evoking nostalgia and brand loyalty. Aluminum's recyclability is not just a technical feature, It's a cornerstone of Coke's sustainability message, appealing to eco-conscious consumers and shaping the company's public image. The entire U.S. distribution system, from warehouses to delivery trucks, is meticulously built around the can's precise specifications, ensuring every can fits perfectly into the supply chain. So when there's a sudden spike in aluminum costs, it's not just a hit to profits. It threatens the very structure that delivers Coke to every corner of America, putting pressure on every link in the chain. This isn't like a sugar price hike or a minor supply issue. It's a direct attack on the product's foundation, with the potential to disrupt everything from production to pricing. The crisis put the future of the classic Coke can in jeopardy, raising urgent questions about how an icon of American culture can survive in a rapidly changing world. If aluminum cans became too expensive, why not switch to plastic or glass? In reality, it's nearly impossible. Coke's factories are built for cans. Retooling would cost hundreds of millions and take years. Supply chains for plastic and glass can't handle a sudden surge. Shortages and price spikes would follow. Switching to plastic would clash with Coke's sustainability promises and risk a PR disaster. Consumers love cans for their taste, convenience, and portability. Forcing a change could alienate loyal customers and open the door for competitors. The can isn't just a container, it's part of the Coke ritual. The alternatives were unworkable, risky, and potentially brand damaging. The crisis left Coke with no easy way out. The can was irreplaceable. The tariff didn't just raise costs, it shattered a finely tuned supply chain. Coca-Cola relies on long-term contracts with can makers, who source aluminum from both US and foreign smelters, especially Canada. The new tariff hit all imports, even from allies, inflating costs overnight. Can manufacturers faced impossible choices: pay the tariff or break contracts? Shipments stalled, orders paused, and the just-in-time system ground to a halt. US smelters couldn't fill the gap. Ramping up would take years and billions. Domestic aluminum prices soared too, chasing the new import costs. The result: chaos, bottlenecks, and price hikes throughout the supply chain. The policy meant higher costs for everyone, with no quick fix in sight. Coca-Cola quickly realized this was bigger than them. It was an industry-wide crisis. Rivals like PepsiCo and Keurig Dr. Pepper joined forces, along with beer giants and can manufacturers. They formed a powerful coalition, united by a single message: the tariffs hurt American consumers and jobs. Together, they launched a lobbying blitz in Washington, armed with data showing the real economic impact. They argued that downstream industries employed far more Americans than aluminum smelters. Public campaigns explained the supply chain realities and warned of higher prices for everyday goods. For the first time, Coke and Pepsi made joint statements, underscoring the crisis. Their survival depended on making Washington listen. The alliance was unprecedented but absolutely necessary. The effects of the tariff hit consumers fast, rippling through the economy in ways few expected. Coke and its competitors had no choice but to raise prices. Retailers passed the cost to shoppers, leaving families to stretch their budgets even further. Suddenly, a 12-pack of soda cost more, turning a simple treat into a small luxury for many households. And it wasn't just soda. Beer, seltzer, and even canned foods saw price hikes affecting everyday staples. The tariff became a hidden tax on American families. Companies slashed marketing budgets, delayed launching new products, and postponed crucial plant upgrades, all to cope with rising costs. Job cuts rippled through advertising, construction, and eventually bottling plants, impacting workers far beyond the aluminum industry. The policy meant to protect a few thousand smelting jobs, now threatened hundreds of thousands elsewhere, putting entire communities at risk. Economists called it a lose-lose for consumers and workers alike, warning that the long-term consequences could be even more severe. The simple act of buying a Coke became a costly reminder of a trade war that touched every corner of daily life. The fallout was everywhere. From tense boardroom meetings to crowded grocery aisles, no one was left untouched. In the end, the real price was paid by ordinary Americans, who felt the squeeze every time they opened their fridge or checked their receipts. The Coca-Cola aluminum crisis became a lesson in global interdependence. A single policy meant to protect nearly unraveled a century-old American tradition. The iconic Coke can, once a symbol of consistency, became a casualty of trade politics. The crisis exposed the gap between political rhetoric and economic reality. It forced companies to rethink risk, alliances, and the fragility of global supply chains. Ultimately, the tariff debate showed who really pays when nations turn inward. It wasn't just a corporate problem. It touched every family, worker, and small business. The humble can become a symbol of how connected and vulnerable our world truly is.